you can play this hero as a ridiculous right-clicker mid. It only sneaks back into the meta every couple of years, but if it is available to play, you absolutely should do it at least once before Valve nerfs it into the ground with an ulti rework. Now that you know how annoying it is to play against a Dazzle in the lane, let's talk about how annoying it is to play against him in the mid game. Dazzle is a walking toolkit of healing and utility spells, and he's going to make sure that you are very familiar with every single one of them by the time an Ancient falls. Shallow Grave is already pretty self-explanatory. He's able to use it on allied heroes to delay their death and hopefully prevent it entirely, but what you may not have realized is how many absolutely ridiculous combos this opens up. Keep in mind that Nothal Projection basically gives him a Sicilian cast range on all of his spells. Even if you're attacking his core from really far away from the tower, as long as he can finish his TP, there's a good chance he can save them. This gives them enough time to use any of their escape options, so heroes like Riki and PA can use him as a blink target to get out of dodge. However, the really messed up ones are heroes that either have incredible lifesteal potential or can use that 1 HP status to their advantage. Pugna, for example, can sit there at 1 HP in the middle of a fight, unafraid of anything, to cast Decrepify and then suck your soul. Huskar can hang around at just 1 HP, absolutely wailing on you with burning spears, because the HP costs are still available even if he's at 1 HP. These kinds of combos are way more common than you may initially expect, and remember that if he's in Nothal Projection, they get a big fat heal at the very end of it. Speaking of healing, Dazzle honestly might be a sleeper pick for the best healer in the game. He doesn't have access to percentage-based healing like Juggernaut, nor does he have the 100% uptime of Witch Doctor. But what he does have is a very low cooldown heal that affects multiple heroes and deals damage that he himself can amp by casting that heal again. Shadow Wave is a very strange ability, and it is one of multiple spells in this game that I think straight up lie to you. It says 145, and if you open up demo mode and use it on an allied hero that's taken damage, it'll heal for 145, but play against a Dazzle and tell me that it's only healing for 145. This ability heals like crazy, especially when it's on a 3.5 second cooldown during Nothal Projection. Now the obvious use of this ability is to swing a team fight in your favor and then heal everyone up afterwards when you go to take a tower. However, it's also very good at just plucking entire creep waves away from your core players. A big tip for getting away with this without getting reported is to cast it on them as they walk up to farm, and then pretend that the bounce was an accident. If they get mad at you, the next time they get ganked, be sure to accidentally double tap Shallow Grave. Remember, they were going to report you anyway. Now if all of this sounds appealing to you, or you're the kind of guy who spends the after party helping other people throw up, here's how to play Dazzle. You can play him as either a position 4 or 5, but either way you're going to have to make a decision. Is this a babysitting lane where you're going to have to bodyguard your lane partner, or is it a baby punching lane where you're going to turn the enemy laner's life into a living hell? Either way, go ahead and get Poison Touch level 1 and use it to test the waters. Cast it on the enemy support and try to figure out if they know how your spell works. If they continue to sit there man-fighting while your own lane partner waddles over to join the fun, congratulations, you are now playing against a moron. However, if they have enough brain cells to read your abilities, they're probably going to start waddling away, in which case chase them as well as you can until it gets dangerous to do it anymore. At level 1, the ability has a 24-second cooldown, meaning that you can do this every single creep wave, and the mana cost is relatively manageable, though you'll probably want a clarity or two. If you really want to push the limits with your teammates, try to see how long you can go without getting a point in Shallow Grave without any of them noticing. If they get uppity, remind them that if they were good players, you'd never have to cast it in the first place. Just bully enemy laners and do general support things until the mid-game rolls around. Around this time you should have Arcane Boots and at least the parts of a defensive item, and you're going to be stacking those as much as you can. All of your items can also be cast during Nothal Projection, which artificially inflates their cast range to a Brazilian. Watch them act like a hawk, and if anyone on your team that you care about gets ganked, TP and try to help them out. Even if it doesn't ultimately save them, a well-timed Shallow Grave is going to inspire a lot of confidence in your team, and if you are able to turn the fight, they're going to love you forever. Still, you are a high-value support target, and you need to keep yourself alive in order to have any impact in fights. We once again return to the mantra of KYS, keep yourself safe. Now, Nothal Projection does indicate to the enemy team where you are in the trees, and that means that if they have mobility tools, they can jump in and deal with your real body. However, Dazzle can end it early after at least 5 seconds, and you can then blow Shallow Grave and the rest of your defensive items on yourself. You'll probably still die, but it gives you a couple more seconds to spam Shadow Wave on your teammates. Lastly, know that there are a bunch of other heroes that you completely counter with Shallow Grave. Legion Commander is an obvious one. If you cast Shallow Grave on her dual target, they won't die, and she won't get any damage. Pretty much the exact same thing is true for Necrophos. If you can use Shallow Grave on the target of Reaper Scythe, they're not going to die, he doesn't get his Seda stacks, nor does he get his permanent scaling effect. Last thing to note is that during every Dazzle game, you will get a Siren's Call in the back of your head telling you to buy an Aghanim Scepter. This makes Shadow Wave do a bunch of shit that basically boils down to a ton of damage. It's also a core part of Dazzlator, but if your plan was to cosplay as your team's eventual 4th core, you wouldn't have picked Dazzle in the first place. You would have picked Hoodwink or Dark Willow or some other hero that Redditors are strangely attracted to. Wait, there's a bit of a pattern there. Is Valve doing that on purpose? I always found Dota's armor system strange, and the way that Dazzle interacts with it even stranger. I wrote a little bit about that here. Feel free to read it if you like. Now, if you're tired of losing to this hero, or you have some kind of weird murderous Oedipus complex, here's how to beat Dazzle. First off, anti-heal should be a priority pickup from at least one hero on your team. Scotty and Spear Vessel are very strong, but they only apply to one hero, and I don't know why I didn't put a photo of it, but Shiva's Guard is actually my recommendation. Dazzle can heal pretty much his entire team with Shadowgrave and with those abilities, and so having the anti-heal aura on Shiva's Guard will make it easier to counter. Nothal Projection is also a very annoying ability to deal with because it can feel like he's completely invincible. However, the trail that leads away from the ghost will tell you exactly where he is. If you have mobility tools either built into your character or from items like Blink Dagger or Shadowblade, you can use those to get on top of him and deal with him early. Now, these traits belong to plenty of different heroes in Dota. Ancient Apparition and Doom completely shut down healing, no questions asked, and Oracle is a very strong source of dispels for dealing with Poison Touch. However, Slark is probably the single best core to counter this hero. He can use Dark Pact on reaction to get rid of Poison Touch, and because Shallowgrave keeps the hero alive, he can now use it to farm Essence Shift stacks. Also, according to DotaBuff, Underlord is the single best hero to pick against Dazzle, and after about 14 seconds of thinking about it, I can't figure out why. If you know why, please join the Discord and tell me about it. The last option is to just cheese it. Axe's Culling Blade very famously cuts through Shallowgrave, basically nullifying the ability. On top of that, Poison Touch is one of only a handful of abilities in the game that proc the Hero Deny effect. If your ally is affected by the ability and is clearly about to leave his mortal coil, you can instead hit him with a cheeky right click and deny the kill entirely. They will still die, but Dazzle will not get any of the gold or XP from the kill, nor will anyone else on his team. Plus, it's very funny. Ultimately, Dazzle is one of those heroes that you kind of just have to grin and bear it when playing against, but if you can keep all of these tips in mind, it'll be a little bit easier to deal with all of his bullshit. In conclusion, Dazzle is a responsible hero, and you should absolutely play him. He's nowhere near as bad as Clinks, but Valve likes to go in and fiddle with his ultimate every couple of years, and I have a feeling we're due for a rework soon. For all we know, next patch might be the return of self-harm powered Midas Dazzle. Peace on planet Earth. Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Axe, a hero for men. Axe is a melee strength offlaner whose most iconic feature is increasing the testosterone flowing through your body whenever you pick him. This is because Axe is an extremely aggressive and tanky offlaner who excels at both pickoffs and teamfighting. His Q, Berserker's Call, is one of the single best AoE disables in the entire game because it pierces BKB and forces them to hit you. Now for most heroes, getting your ass beat by the entire enemy team at the same time would be a bad thing, but Axe has a little spell called Counter Helix. Upon getting hit a certain number of times, Axe will spin in a small AoE around him, dealing pure damage to anything that he hits. In combination with Berserker's Call, Counter Helix allows Axe to spin like a helicopter and chop down the entire enemy team in an ideal circumstance. However, enemy heroes may survive the initial Berserker's Call burst and be able to walk away with a little bit of HP, and somehow Axe actually enjoys this even more. Culling Blade is Axe's ultimate, and it does a bunch of things. First, it refreshes itself whenever you use it to successfully kill an enemy hero. Second, it gives the entire team a massive boost to their armor and movement speed, allowing to chase down the rest of the stragglers. And lastly, it has an infinite scaling mechanic, because this is Dota 2 in the year 2025. Thanks to his innate, whenever Axe gets a kill, he gets a tiny amount of armor. However, if you get a kill with Culling Blade, you get triple the normal amount. This means that over the course of a very long game with a lot of successful dunks, Axe can become nearly impervious to physical damage. Plus, Call and Culling Blade both give him even more armor in case it wasn't enough. However, laughing off PA crits isn't the only thing that armor is good for, because his W is Battle Hunger. This ability is a unit target damage over time spell that the enemy can dispel early by getting a last hit. However, in the context of the laning phase, this means that they have to approach the creep wave, which means that they often have to approach Axe as well. To really drive the point home, anyone affected by Battle Hunger will be slowed as long as they are facing away from Axe. He is a man, and if you don't want to be slowed, you're gonna have to be one too. The best part is that the amount of damage that Battle Hunger does depends on your armor, meaning that your infinite scaling feats Battle Hunger, which helps you get more infinite scaling, so on and so forth. As for his facets, One Man Army is pretty funny. It converts a portion of his armor over to his strength, giving him yet another way to take advantage of all those Culling Blade stacks, while Call Out gives a big attack speed boost to any enemy heroes affected by your call. Pick the first one if you want to be a little bit tankier and you plan to stay away from your teammates. Pick the second if you want to make the most of team fights. They're both good. As for his lore, he was a general of an army, challenged all of his soldiers to one-on-one duels, killed them all, and now he is an army of one. However, a notable piece of real-life lore is that whenever people talk about getting dunks in a MOBA, they're referring to Axe. He was the first dunker, and as far as I'm concerned, he remains the best. Now let's talk a little bit more about that initiation combo. As Axe, there's really only two items that you need to make the most of your kit. Those are Blade Mail and Blink Dagger. Once you have those, you can jump into a creep wave, call, and whatever enemy hero was stupid enough to be inside of that creep wave is now going to get turned into mush. Assuming you did the combo correctly, they're going to be taking damage from your right clicks, from Battle Hunger, the counter helix procs created by the creep wave that they were standing next to, and themselves as a result of Blade Mail. Consequentially, a lot of agility carries who depend on their attack speed hate playing against an Axe. Once you have Blink and Blade Mail, heroes like that have to spend the entire game tiptoeing around and begging their supports to buy more wards, because to them, you're effectively a Legion commander, but faster. Now while all of his abilities work great in concert, they also have quite a bit of value on their own. Sometimes Berserker's Call can be used to just get the bonus armor and walk away as the enemy attempts to meagerly right-click you down. You can also use it to cancel TP since it is a BKB piercing stun, and if you really want, the enemy heroes affected by it will follow you, so you can use it as a boof flaming lasso. Counter Helix is an amazing farming tool, and you can use it to clear out the triangle stacks that your position fork forgot to make. In difficult lanes, you can also maneuver between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower, and drag the enemy creep wave to a jungle camp using Counter Helix to farm all of it. Keep in mind that it also deals pure damage, meaning that it scales incredibly well, and if you go for an Aghanim Scepter, every proc will reduce the amount of right-click damage that enemy heroes will deal to you. Berserker's Call is already one of the single best initiation spells in the entire game, but when combined with Counter Helix, it becomes one of the strongest basic abilities in all of Dota 2. Finally, we can all appreciate the flavor of the ability. Axe is insulting the enemy heroes so much that they drop whatever they're doing and immediately begin beating his ass. What exactly he says to taunt them is up to viewer interpretation, but I choose to believe that Axe does not say any slurs, nor does he say anything above a PG-13 rating. Axe is many things, including a man, but he is not a baby. Now let's talk about Culling Blade. This is one of the single funniest abilities in the entire game, and I am so glad that it is on a hero that is as funny as Axe. I explained a little bit before about how it's an execute that refreshes itself, it has an infinite scaling mechanic, all of that, but what I didn't mention is the cheese. You see, the way Culling Blade works is that it checks the total remaining HP of the enemy hero, not as a percentage, but as a flat number, and then determines whether or not you are allowed to kill them. It sounds obvious, but when you really see it in action, you'll understand what makes Culling Blade so hilarious. First off, there are many abilities in the game that prevent allied heroes from dying, and Axe doesn't give a shit about them at all. The most famous example is against Dazzle, where someone gets down to 1 HP, Dazzle shallow graves them, and then Axe decides to Culling Blade them anyway. However, my favorite is False Promise. If the Oracle uses the ability while they're below the HP threshold for Culling Blade, you can use it on them and cancel one of the strongest spells in the game, no questions asked. However, the truest show of skill is against Abaddon. Abaddon's ultimate will immediately take effect upon getting below 400 HP. However, with the talent and level 18, Axe's Culling Blade will kill at 575. That means that against a hero with a very large HP bar, you have a 175 HP window to snipe Abaddon without him ever getting his ultimate off. It's super frustrating for him, super hilarious for you, and if you do find yourself in that matchup, you have to go for it at least once. There's no shame in messing it up the first time. Second or third, we can talk, but first time is free. This ability also makes Axe a hilarious counter to Medusas who don't know what they're doing. Because Medusa has 0 starting strength and 0 strength gain, she is going to be at a very low HP total by the time that you hit 6 in the lane against her. If the Medusa player hasn't picked up a Gauntlet of Strength or switched over to Strength Treads or something like that, you can walk over to a Medusa, freshly spawned, full HP and mana, hit the R button on her, and she will instantly die. Even outside of the cheese situations, it's just a very funny ability. Because it refreshes itself, there are situations where you get 3 or even 4 heroes really low from your call and then dunk them all one by one. Oh, and don't forget that every single kill and Culling Blade you get is giving you more armor, making you tankier, potentially giving you more strength, and buffing the damage output of Battle Hunger. The sheer upside and level of cheese on Axe's ultimate makes it one of the most fun abilities in the game to use. Even if you have no interest in raising your T levels, I highly recommend giving Axe a try just because of how funny this ability is. Now if you're the kind of guy who dips steak into uncooked egg yolks for breakfast and eats onions by the sackful, here is how to play Axe. First off, you're going to want to pair up with a position 4 that has some kill potential. Axe can do a surprising amount of damage in the lane, and if you ever get that big juicy call and the enemy carry in the middle of a creep wave, you're going to want a support who can follow up on that. Now as for the lane itself, the first thing you're going to need to master is creep aggro. Clicking on enemy heroes will drag the enemy creep wave towards you because they're trying to attack you, and that means that if they're close enough, they actually will attack you. In such cases, try to position yourself close to the enemy carry and try to get as many counter helix procs off as you can. If you're up against a melee hero, you can kind of play chicken with them, a little bit of footsies. Wait one second. Now if you're ever playing against a melee carry, you're going to want to start playing footsies with them. You're going to be messing with the creep aggro, approaching the wave, backing off, making them think they're safe, and then using Battle Hunger to coax them further in so you can use Call. However, if you're up against a range lane, Axe is not going to have a very good time. Going up against a dual range lane as Axe is so horrible that I even made an ASMR video about it. For the most part, you're going to be casting Battle Hunger on the enemy support in order to help your pause for trade, and then just using creep aggro to get as many last hits as you can. It's going to be a little bit miserable, so what you can do instead is cut the wave. Run between the tier 1 and tier 2, grab the creep wave's aggro, drag it to a relatively safe medium camp, and then try to farm it all with counter heals. The enemy carry will be stuck under their own tower trying to get last hits, and hopefully your position 4 can zone out their pause 5. Once you do this long enough, I recommend just sticking with brown boots and going right into Blade Mail Blink. However, in some lanes you can go phase boots instead, especially if you're up against a Juggernaut or something like that. And once you get your Blink Dagger, you're going to spend the rest of the game learning to risk it for the biscuit. If there's any kind of teamfight situation, your job is to get the party started. And if everything goes according to plan, you'll be ending the party as well with Culling. Now it's worth noting that Axe is actually a little bit better as a counter-initiator than a true initiator. In an ideal situation, all 5 enemy heroes will be wailing on your mid laner, and then you'll jump in to save the day. Jump in and call 5 enemy heroes, spin around like a helicopter, and get as many Culling Blades off as you can. Now usually this is where I say, get out alive, but honestly as Axe, not that big of a concern. You're here to die a warrior's death, that's why you picked this hero, so just stay in and take as many spells after the initial call burst as you can. Hell, if you get enough Culling Blades off, you're going to want to die, because going back to the fountain is the fastest way to refill your mana bar. And once you have your bases covered, it's all about just maximizing your impact in team fights. BKB is an obvious pickup, it prevents them from using Yules or precasting hexes and stuff like that to mess with your initiation, and Aghanim Scepter is also a great pickup. Now, whenever a counter helix hits an enemy hero, they will be dealing a reduced amount of physical damage to you for a good amount of time. After that, you can go for a bit more of a caster build, stuff like Octarine, Core, and Refresher to really make the most of your initiation, or, and this is what I prefer, going all in on the armor, picking up a shard to stack Battle Hunger on enemy heroes, and getting an Assault Cuirass after the Ags. Going into the late game, your play pattern literally doesn't change. Jump into enemy heroes, press your Q button, deal a bunch of damage, die, repeat. As long as you're getting at least 2 enemy heroes in each call, no one can complain that you aren't doing your job well. Your job is to be a man, and sometimes at war, men die. Remind your team of this, and if they ever get uppity at you, be sure to just roleplay as Axe himself. Certainly that'll calm them down. I wrote a little bit about how strange the offlane position is from a conceptual point of view. Feel free to read it if you like. Now, if you just so happen to be one of the Medusa, Abba, or Dazzle players I mentioned earlier, you'll be glad to know that there are many ways to deal with Axe. First off, this hero absolutely folds to Banish or Ethereal Blade. Axe can land as many juicy 4-man calls as he wants, but as long as you're waiting in the wings to cast Yules on him whenever he does, he's not going to get anything done. Instead of passing themselves away on his blade mail, they're instead going to sit there and awkwardly stare up at his gooch while he hovers in the air. Ethereal Blade is more expensive, but it also does the job, and it lets you do the most fun thing in all of Dota. Cast all your spells on the offlaner. Heroes that can roughly replicate these effects, such as OD with Astral Imprison or Pugna with Decrepify, are really good picks against Axe for the same reason. If you're a carry player and you cannot convince your mid or supports to spend 1600 gold on an E-Blade recipe, you can instead pick up a Satanic. Call does have a very short cast time and it's difficult to react to, but if you can pop Satanic beforehand, you're guaranteed to survive for the duration. Now as for actually killing the hero, because of his infinite armor stacking, magic damage is usually the preferred option. Heroes that can dish out a ton of it, such as Leshrac, are great picks against Axe. Plus, he doesn't really mind buying an E-Blade or Yule Scepter after his initial items. However, the greatest counter against an Axe is to not group up very tightly and get 5-man called. Just try to keep your personal space from each other if you don't see Axe on the map. And if you do see him about to jump in, I'm going to relay the wise words of Pyrian Flax and Delta Split, because I haven't stolen enough from him already. If you can use all these strategies, you'll more than likely come out on top against the Axe. Plus, if you get him far enough behind and he ever finally does land that 5-man call he's been dreaming about all game, there is a real chance that he will just die from your right clicks, and that's very funny.
Your middle tower is under attack.
In conclusion, Axe is manly, and you should absolutely play him. If you're transitioning from female to male, you should be spamming this hero as often as you can. And if you're already a male, you can use this to transition into an alpha man. Peace on planet Earth. Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Necrophos, a hero for sickos. Necrophos is a ranged intelligence mid or offlaner with two iconic features. The first is going from 10% HP all the way back up to 100 after getting a single kill. He achieves the latter through Reaper Sight, his hilarious ultimate that will deal magic damage to you proportional to the amount of HP that you are currently missing. In addition to dealing a metric shitload of magic damage, this ability will also paralyze an entire team and will make them afraid to go on Necrophos if they aren't at full HP, because they know that they are only one pop of his Q away from suddenly being sent back to their own fountain. As for the former, this is due to Sadist, his innate, which will give him an insane amount of regen whenever he kills something. He can get Sadist stacks off of killing creeps, which is a big part of what makes him such a good lane bully, but he can also get a ton of them suddenly from getting a kill, which his ultimate will always guarantee. These two abilities combine to create an int hero that isn't afraid to just walk into 5 enemies and hope for the best. And if that weren't enough, he also directly counters the strength heroes that he LARPs as thanks to Heartstopper Aura, and that they're near him. And with that damage scaling all the way up to 2.8% with a level 25 talent, even a 10,000 HP Pudge or Centaur War Runner need to be wary of Necrophos in the late game. His Q, Death Pulse, is an AoE magic damage ability that creates a small projectile all around him that will deal damage to all units while healing Necrophos and his allies at the same time. This is just one element of his burst heal combo, which is complemented by Ghost Wrap, his dummy. This ability is effectively a Ghost Scepter that also increases your own regen, and that applies to both HP and mana. The bread and butter of this hero is to wade into a team fight, take as many spells and right clicks as he's comfortable with, and then hit his W. After that, he can use his Q to deal damage and heal himself by a boosted amount, pop a magic wand, and then suddenly he's at full HP and ready to tank all over again. If that weren't enough for you, he also has access to a surprise mobility tool with Deathseeker, his Aghanim Shard. Imagine Blink Strike from Ricky, except it's comically slow, and then when he gets there, he unleashes another Death Pulse. Not only does this add yet another layer to his burst regen combo, but it also gives him a way of getting out of any sticky situations. The result is an int mid who plays like a strength offlaner and has better escape abilities than many agility carries. And yet, he is not universal. As for his lore, he's kind of just a dick. Now let's talk a little bit more about his innate Sadist. This passive gives Necrophos a small burst of both HP and mana regeneration whenever he kills anything. That applies to both enemy heroes and Elastics. This means that as long as he can continue to CS in the lane with either his right clicks or Death Pulse, he will always have the HP to tank your harass and the mana to keep casting his Q. If you're playing as an agility hero with no access to clear magical damage, something like a Terrorblade, Slark, or a Faceless Void, you're going to have a very difficult time against Necrophos, akin to a cheese pick like a Huskar or a Broodmother. It's also a big reason why so many heroes are afraid to go against him mid, because not only are you unable to approach the lane because of the threat of Q, but Heartstopper Aura is slowly ticking away your HP bar while Necrophos doesn't have to do anything at all. However, that's only how Sadist affects the lane. In the late game, this ability scales like crazy. With the talent that you pretty much always get at level 10, every single last hit will be regenning 80 mana and HP. Once he hits level 18, every single CS will be healing up to 80 HP and mana.
Top tower has fallen.
My will
Your top tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
My remains remain.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
Shambling.
Your top tower is under attack.
Don't think I wasn't fine with you.
My will.
Your bones.
Dire structures are fortified.
Rotting. My will under attack.
A bit of venison ought to hit the spot.
Your middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
life to take. Dirt goes on.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Vile death.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Yes. I will.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Marches.
I'll do the same.
Have your skull for myself.
Yes. Yes.
Killing spree. Death marches.
The vile dead. Yes. Shambling.
The enemy's top tower has fallen.
My stomach.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Out.
The dirt goes on.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack.
Nature attend us.
Your top tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
That was unreal.
Endure. Rotting. Death tax. I will. dead endure. Passing. Rotting.
Your middle tower is under attack. Is under attack.
The dirge goes on. Shambling. My will. Yes.
Unstoppable.
The vile dead. Yes.
Killing spree.
Death marches. The dirge goes on.
Dire structures are fortified.
My stomach. Why? I'm under attack.
In waters. I have seen the world without them.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen. The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
My will. Shambling. My will. Yes. I will.
sprites are with us.
Death marches.
Gotcha.
Make a big mess.
The one dead.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Your top tower has fallen. Your top tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
And life goes on.
Your middle tower is under attack.
The dead endure. Rotting. I will. Yes. The dead are here. The dead endure. I life ends. Trembling. The dirge goes on. The vile dead. My will.
fallen.
All will die. The dead endure. My will. Death marches. Yes.
Gotcha!
Right. Life ends. Shambling. Hungry day. Come to die. All will die. The dirge goes on. My will.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Rotting.
My sprites are with us.
Passing.
Dire structures are falling.
All will die. Yes. My stomach.
The enemy's top tower has fallen. The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Dead. Death! Death! dead endure. Not time yet. Yes. Yes. Shambling. My will. They take the lead. My soul. I The dirge goes on. Rotting. The dead endure. My will. Yes. The final dead.
Dire structures are fortified. The enemy's middle tower has fallen. The enemy's middle tower has fallen. The enemy's middle tower has fallen. The enemy's top tower, the enemy's middle tower has fallen.